Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, once again coming to you from beautiful North Carolina and the Outer Banks. But we need to talk about what's happening in Israel at the moment. It's an extraordinary development in the rise of a new conservative age, and it's one that has the woke left absolutely petrified. Now, as many of you know, Israel's parliament, the Knesset, officially passed a major law that will limit the power of the Israeli Supreme Court, which is the first in a number of court reforms that Israel's right-wing government plans to implement over the coming weeks. Now, of course, all you're going to hear from the likes of CNN and MSNBC and other left-wing fringe freaks that pose as legitimate news outlets is that Israel's far-right government, the single most far-right government they've ever had in their history, is destroying democracy. They're destroying checks and balances. They're destroying an independent judiciary. This is the authoritarianism that we enlightened liberals who still can't tell you what a woman is have been warning you all about. But all of this couldn't be further from the truth. So here's what's really going on in Israel with these reforms. Many people don't realize that Israel, in fact, does not have a formal written constitution. It operates by a system of basic laws and rights, which enjoy semi-constitutional status. But this is what you need to get. There is no constitutionally determined structure to their government. For right or for wrong, I mean, that's just the way it is in Israel. We got to remember, Israel is a relatively new government. It was founded in 1948. It's very new, which means that in many respects, it's still a work in progress. Its laws and structure remain relatively malleable. Again, this is something that CNN and MSNBC are never going to tell you. Another thing these left-wing outlets will never ever tell you is that Israel's parliament, the Knesset, is not bicameral, meaning that it doesn't have two branches like a House and a Senate. Again, those who are so freaked out about checks and balances conveniently omit this fact. There's just the Knesset in Israel. It's one legislative body constituted by direct democracy, like our House of Representatives. There's no senators, there's no aristocratic House of Lords in Israel. They're just basically a Congress, the Knesset. And it's that legislative body that elects the prime minister, in this case, Bibi Netanyahu. But in many respects, I mean, that's it. The Knesset is the Israeli government. So you've got to get that. That's really important. The Knesset is the Israeli government, but for the exception of their judiciary. They've got a high court, a Supreme Court, and again, this is what you have to get. Since 1950, you may not have known this, Israel's Supreme Court judges appoint their own successors. It's one of the only nations that I know of that does it that way, right? That has this system. And again, the legacy media won't tell you this, but this unique system that was set up in 1950 is absolutely key to understanding what's going on today in this current controversy. Their Supreme Court judges appoint their own successors. Now, can you imagine living under a system where Ruth Bader Ginsburg got to pick her own successor? And that's the problem. What the Israeli Supreme Court has been doing for the last few decades is intentionally perpetuating a never-ending left-wing court. Left-wing justices that are totally outside of the new conservative cultural majority in Israel keep frustrating that majority by appointing far-left judges. And so the Knesset, which is Israel's sole government, has decided to finally put an end to this constant, never-ending left-wing Supreme Court. And as of the other day, they officially did it. So what are leftists now saying about all this? Well, you're going to absolutely love this. But first, if you're a patriot and you're not prepared to defend your home and your family, you need to click on that link below right now and visit our good friends over at Countrywide Concealed and get your concealed carry permit once and for all. Okay? If you're like me, right? You've been putting this off for far too long. You've always wanted to do it. You've always meant to do it. But you've been put off because of all the ridiculous barriers and requirements, the pain, the hassle of getting what's ironically our constitutional right. Well, guess what, gang? There's now an amazing solution to all of that. Countrywide Concealed is probably the quickest, easiest way for you to get your concealed carry permit. And the coolest thing is that the permit is good in the vast majority of the country. That's right, you won't just get a permit to conceal carry in your own state, you're going to get one that's good in 84% of the whole of the nation. It's as quick and as easy as just watching a video and taking a quiz. And thanks to Countrywide Concealed, your family is that much safer no matter where you go. Getting a concealed carry license has literally never been easier. So click on that link below right now and join the millions of patriots who've taken back their rights with Countrywide Concealed today. The left is absolutely flipping out at this new conservative majority in Israel, crushing their last bastion of leftist liberalism. You got to understand that over the last several years, the political left in Israel has basically died. And that's emphatically not an overstatement. You may not know this, but the Labor Party that once dominated the center left in Israel, right? This is the party of former prime ministers like Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres and Ehud Barak. That party today, in terms of their support, is in the single digits. They're lucky if they break 8 or 9% support. I mean, the left has literally collapsed in Israel. It's either the right or the hard right, right? And what we call the Overton window, the political consensus, has shifted massively to the right of late. And again, if you're a regular to this channel, you know precisely why that is. Demographics, right? Conservative demographics, ultra-Orthodox Haredi school children have gone from comprising just a few percent of the pupils in Israel's classroom just a few decades ago to today where they're almost half of all Jewish students. And this happened literally in just a matter of few decades, and they're poised to represent the vast majority of the Jewish population in just the next decade or so. So naturally, Israel's politics have swung way to the right, to the Orthodox Jewish right. And leftists in the United States, particularly in the legacy media, they just don't know what to do with this. This massive shift to the right is simply unintelligible to them. And so now they're kicking and screaming and freaking out that we shouldn't even be friends with Israel anymore. And guess what? Israel could care less. Israel is going the way of neo-Orthodox Russia and Hindu nationalist India and neo-Confucian China and ironically theocratic Iran. They're going fully post-secular and they're literally laughing at what remains of the woke left here in the United States. A new conservative age is rising all over the world, and it's completely leaving the Democrat dolts in DC, led by Dementia Joe, behind. Israel's moving to the political and cultural right, along with 90% of the rest of the world, and our woke legacy media is finding out that it's not Israel that's at risk of being isolated or left behind. The only ones ultimately getting left behind all over the world is the woke left.
Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.